In this video, you will learn about HTTP2 replay in Silk Performer. Let's first gather a few facts around the Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Released in 2015, HTTP2 is a major revision of HTTP 1.1. In essence, it provides for a considerably faster communication between client and server. This is achieved by a number of innovations, like the single connection approach. All communication is performed over a single TCP connection that can carry any number of communication streams. This reduces connection overhead. Next, HTTP2 supports the so-called server push feature. It allows a server to push resources to the client without an explicit request from the client. And HTTP2 is a binary protocol, hence it is not human-readable, but significantly more efficient and robust. We're going to create a new web project for this demonstration, and we'll be using this URL to an HTTP2 test site. Note that Silk Performer uses HTTP 1.1 during recording, but for this and many other websites, this is absolutely no issue. Also note that we have to use a secure connection when working with HTTP2 scripts. We can see that the image on this test page is made up of a number of tiles, which are loaded successively. If we would be using HTTP2 now, the image would load considerably quicker. That's all we need to record for this demo, so let's close the browser. We will now perform two trial runs, one using HTTP 1.1 and another using HTTP 2. We'll then be able to compare the different response times. To do so, we need to define two profiles. Let's have a look at the initial profile. Under Web Protocol, we can see that IE10 and HTTP 1.1 is set for this profile. 1.1 is the default for IE10. If you want to change the default for any reason, click Details and set the preferred version here. We will stick with these settings and rename the profile. Let's create a new profile for HTTP2 and set the HTTP version accordingly. You can see that we can also separately control the fallback behavior as well as the server push feature. We now ensure that both profiles, or more specifically both user types, are added to the workload. We will not perform a try script run, because a trial run is a single execution which uses only one user type. Instead, we'll be using the try agents feature. This execution provides us with two TrueLogs that we can now compare side by side in TrueLog Explorer. To do so effectively, we move the HTTP2 TrueLog to the lower pane and switch on the synchronize feature. These parts now show the HTTP 1.1 related data, and these parts show the data for HTTP 2. Let's now have a look at the Statistics tab. Here we can see that the page time for HTTP 1.1 is at around 3,400 milliseconds, whereas for HTTP 2, the page time is at around 1,600 milliseconds. So, as expected, the HTTP 2 execution is considerably faster. Here are some more interesting differences. For HTTP 2, just a single connection to the server is established. It is then used by multiple streams in parallel. In contrast, for HTTP 1.1, 12 concurrent connections are established, which are then used to receive data sequentially. Also note that the single events are all quicker in the HTTP 1.1 case. Even so, the HTTP 2 execution is faster overall. Let's take a quick look at an execution that incorporates the server push feature. In the TrueLog tree, you can see at one glance if and what resources have been pushed by the server. And on the Statistics tab, we can see that these resources have been processed before the initial request has been completed, which also indicates a server push behavior. As you can see, executing HTTP2 scripts and analyzing the results is straightforward with Silk Performer and offers some interesting insights.